Hey everyone, Patty Abel at Able Wellness, and coming to you today with just a little short exercise video with some exercises that you can do sitting in a chair, using a chair. So we're just using a folding chair today. You could use a dining room chair, office chair. Just be careful if it has rollers on it, because we will do some standing work and you don't want it rolling around. So we're going to be using an overball today. If you don't have an overball, you could use a small playground ball. But we're just going to take this guy and sit in it. So once you sit on it, you're going to kind of reach back and move the flesh away until you can get your sit bones. It's a little bony protuberance on the bottom of your tush on the sides of the ball. The reason we're doing this is especially for those that sit a lot during the day and do office work. We have a tendency to go into posterior pelvic tilt. So we want to try to bring that space in between the bones of the pelvis. So we're going to sit on it first of all, and you can just kind of let your hands rest on your lap. And we're going to start first with some breathing work. So let's actually bring our hands onto our bellies. And you're going to breathe all the way down into your stomach, so taking a breath in through the nose and then out through the mouth. So as you're taking that breath in, the tissue of the belly is going to inflate into the hands. And then when you take your breath out, it's going to reach away. So we're just going to do like 2 more of those. So we'll inhale into the hands and exhale out. And inhale into the hands, feeling the belly expand, the back expand, and out. And then we're going to come up to right underneath the chest, right about your solar plexus. And then same thing, you're going to breathe in and exhale out. So feeling the back and the side walls of the body expand on the breath, and then releasing. So bringing some space into the tissue. Feeling the diaphragm moving down and up as we breathe. And then we're going to bring the hands up to the chest. And now you're going to breathe all the way into the hands and the chest. And back out. So this is a spot that we can have quite a bit of tension in sometimes. So finding that expansion into the chest and breathing out. As you're breathing, check in from time to time and make sure that you're not rolling back on the ball, that we're staying nice and tall on our ball, head over the ball, hips and shoulders in line with each other. What one of our instructors always gives us, she calls it alignment for dummies, that you can put fingertips on the sternum, fingertips on the pubic bone, and make sure they line up. So you want them right over top of each other. And then from there, we're just going to do a breath where we take a breath into the belly, up into the mid part, into the chest. So it's a 1 full breath all the way up. So at first, you might not be able to do this extensive of a breath. So you're just going to build up to it. Breathing is very important to us. So belly, solar plexus, sternum, and release. So you guys keep breathing, and I'm going to talk a little bit. So I want you to keep breathing from the stomach into the solar plexus, up into the sternum. But breathing is very important. It's going to help move the diaphragm. And since we're sitting on the ball, we're sitting up nice and tall, we have lots of space for everything to move. So this is going to help give our digestive organs some massage. It's going to help pump the heart. So if you're having an extremely stressful day, this would be good to just breathe and release a little stress. For those of you, there's many of you like us that use Young Living oils. You could get one of your favorite calming or grounding oils at this time and take a breath in, some stress away, or lavender, or sometimes even peppermint is very calming for some people, or citrus oil. So whichever one's your favorite. So from here, we're just going to go into some tilting back and forth. So on our in-breath, we're going to actually spill off the front of the pelvis. And then on the exhale, we're going to spill off the back. So inhale, we're going to rock forward. and exhale, we rock back. So as you rock back, you're going to get that lengthening in your low back. So a little stretch there in the low back. And again, we're staying up nice and tall. And this movement is all from the belly button down. And then from there, we're going to do a little side to side. So now think of it kind of like the sit bones are marching. One sit bone is going to drop off the right side. The left one's going to lift up. We'll come back to center and then switch. So left goes down, right comes up. And then center and switch. Center and switch. So you can also kind of think of the sit bones kind of like little pistons. One goes down, one comes up. One goes down, one comes up. So this is now starting to stretch and floss the tissue, the connective tissue, the muscles in the back, in the front of the spine. So starting to wake up some of those core muscles. And then you're going to come back to center, and then we're going to connect all those together. So we're going to spill off the front. We're going to roll over to the right, rock back behind us, over to the left, and forward. So think of the pelvis like a bowl, and we're just rolling the bowl around on top of the ball. And make sure you breathe. So you'll inhale for half and exhale for half. And again, this movement's happening just from the belly button down. We're keeping our upper body in this one still. So we're getting all that movement. When you get back to the front this time, we're going to switch directions. We're going to go over to the left, circle back, go to the right, and come forward. So just again, starting to wake up, starting to stretch some muscles that might have not been stretched in a while or moved this way in a while. So your movement effort first might not be very big. We'll do one more. Good, and then we're gonna just perch back up on top of our ball. From here, we're gonna rock off, and you're gonna remove your ball. So now it should feel like there's a lot of space in between those two bones of the hips and pelvis. So this, when we're sitting, the reason I like to do this exercise is this shows us where we should be sitting when we're sitting in the chair. We should be able to feel these bones into our chair. We shouldn't be rocked back on the back of our bones. So think of your sit bones kind of like the heels of your behind. So just like the heels of our feet, we want the heels of our feet directly onto the ground. We don't walk around on the back of our heel. So just like that, we don't want to sit on the back of our heel. Very bad for the system, compressive for the spine, very compressive for the internal organs and the breathing. So we want to be right on top of those bones, and that's going to help set us up for the next exercise. So the next exercise is we're going to slide out to the edge of our seat. So I don't want you to be in the back. I want you to be right on the very edge so that you can feel those sit bones right on the edge of your chair, sinking down into the chair. Our shoulders are over our hips. You can use your little alignment for dummies and find your alignment. Crown of the head's reaching up towards the ceiling. So for this exercise, the upper body, once we get it in place, is not going to move. We're going to keep it nice and still. And we're going to sink our left foot into the floor, and we're just going to float our right knee up. The key here is, as we do this, the weight in those two sit bones are going to stay equal, and then we're going to float it back down. And we're going to alternate. So we're going to sink the right foot in, keep both bones sinking into the chair equally, and float the left up and back down. So the big key here is keeping equal weight on the sides of the pelvis into those bones of the sit bones. So really think of them sinking down into the chair, and then you're like floating up and back down. And staying nice and tall. You know, we have a tendency to fall back into our easy chair a lot of times. So stay out of your easy chair. And don't forget to breathe. So it's not about how fast we can go or how many we can do. It's more about quality of movement. So keeping the spine nice and tall, thinking of the solar plexus staying in, shoulders over top of the hips. So keeping all that alignment is going to make all of those little core muscles work to keep us in place while we're just doing the simple movement of lifting the knees up and back down. And of course, we're going to add on to this as we go, but for today, this is as far as we're going. From here, we're just going to get our ball again, and we're going to bring it into the back of our chair. And now we get to slide back into our chair a little bit, but we're going to bring that ball right into our mid-back. So we don't want the hips way out and us leaning back into the ball. We want to take our hips all the way back into the chair. So again, shoulders are over the hips, and that mid-back is reaching into the ball. So if I just kind of sit where I might regularly want to sit, my ribs are going to flare out, the belly's going to fall forward. If we reach, if you think that that solar plexus pulling back and that back reaching into the ball, now we get the spine nice and tall. Our sit bones are going to reach down into the chair. So again, we're not going to rock to the front or rock to the back of our sit bones, but we're going to sit right on top of them. So just lining up like that, you should feel those front core muscles, those back core muscles start to engage. If you're not feeling those, then you're not lined up. So getting all of those areas aligned first. And then from there, we're going to bring our hands out in front of us. We're going to let our shoulders fall down. And without changing any of those alignments, we're going to just float the arms up. So the tendency here sometimes is to let our front ribs flare open as the arms lift up. But having this ball behind us and keeping the back reaching into the ball is going to help us stay still and help us stay in alignment. So we're doing a simple just floating of the arms up and down, which, you know, most people think are pretty easy. But if we're staying and keeping that alignment, you're going to feel some work going on in the center body, in those back core muscles, in the lower core muscles. For anyone who has, you know, some stiffness or tightness in your shoulders, you might not lift up as high. Just go as far as you can without the shoulders riding up. So as the arms are floating up, the shoulders are going to float back down. And then from here, we're going to float them all the way up. We're going to bend at the elbow and bring the hands back behind the head. Staying up nice and tall, kind of like a dial here, we're going to side bend over to the right, but we're lengthening up and going over. We're not just side bending. So don't think of compressing here either. We're lengthening here. We're also lengthening into that curve. And then we come back up. And then we're going to go over to the other side. So think of growing tall first. Sit bones reach into the chair, spine lengthens up. And we just rotate there right in the center, over to the left, and then back to center. Shoulders keep falling down the back. So if this is kind of tight for your shoulders, just bring your arms to where you can. If it's out here, then that's okay. Don't make yourself go where you're not ready to yet. We're going to do 2 more of these, and we're going to add just a nice little stretch add on to this. So we're going to lengthen up, side bend over to the right, and then we're going to reach our left hand over the head and over towards that right side, opening up these left side rib cage. So if you feel really tight there, don't be afraid to just take your fingers and give yourself a little tap. You know, open up this space, get the lymphatic system moving. Get the ribs to loosen up so that you can get more movement there, especially for when you're breathing. And then come back to center. Then we're going to go over to the other side. So we side bend to the left. We're going to reach that right hand. Shoulders are staying down. And again, if you need to, giving yourself some little taps in here. even right behind the back of the. We're just trying to help create some space and some movement. Bring your hand back behind the head and back to center. Good. And then relax. Just kind of shake your shoulders out a little bit. We're going to remove the ball, put it off to the side, and we're going to slide towards the front of our chair again. So this is going to start waking up our core muscles. So what I want you to do here is walk your feet out just to where the heels are underneath the knees. If you need to, move the flesh so that you can feel the sit bones. We're going to keep our spine nice and long, and from the hip hinge, we're going to lean back. So we don't want to fall. We don't want to flare. We're just keeping everything nice and lined up as we hinge back. So just going here might be plenty. You might already start feeling these core muscles work. I like to have my hands on the chair, and then from here, we're going to float a knee up and float it back down without letting any of this change. So again, the low belly's drawing in and up, those back core muscles are lifting, and we go back down. So we'll do one more like that, being sure to breathe. And then this next one, if you're ready, if not, continue with the alternating. You're going to float the right knee up and then the left. So now we're in our V sitting position. Nice long spine, knees are bent, we're leaning back. So you might get, I call it the tremor truth. When those core muscles are kicking in because you're trying to keep everything in a line, you might get a little tremor. From here, we're going to float one toe down, then the other, and hinge back up. Let's go ahead, open the knees out a little bit, and I want you to just kind of hinge forward and get a stretch. Press your hands into your knees. You're going to slide the shoulders down the back. I want you to think of snaking. So the mid-back's going to reach through the chest. The chest is going to start looking out across the floor, and you're starting some back extension. So we're going to keep this back extension as we come all the way up. So you should feel some work there in your mid-back. So we're kind of leading with the chest and then back up. Good, and just kind of shake everything out. And then that probably I think that gets us to about, not sure, maybe 10 minutes or so. So that, or longer. I can't see the clock. So that'll give you a good start. And then we're going to add on each day. So you can always put a few together, but this just gives you some things that you can do in between on breaks so that you're not having to find that time at the beginning or the end of the day after you've worked for some exercise. So when you get a little break, just do a few exercises and then go back to work. It's really great, for your body to do that. So see you guys next time, and keep on exercising.